Fadiah Fikri doesn't shy away from a fight. In the past decade, she has been involved in crusading NGOs like Lawyers for Liberty, Bersih and Swaram. However, even she was unprepared for the controversy generated by an article she penned that was posted on the Malaysia Muda blog on July 9th. A couple of months ago, you started the Malaysia Muda blog, and why did you start it?
My friends and I believe that writing is very important to raise consciousness, talk about issues that are difficult to talk about, to be more critical of issues in order to start this culture of critical thinking, because I think that is what we're lacking here in Malaysia, looking at how politics is discussed. So I think there's a need for that. That's why we started the blog.
Okay. And straight away, you guys have run into quite a bit of controversy. Can you tell us about that, your controversial article?
Yeah, I was really surprised when I got called for investigation under the Sedition Act. Of course, when I wrote about the article, it was really something that I felt really strongly about. After May 9th, we had a lot of expectations, and a lot of people were trying to give meaning to democracy. What does it mean to have this change? And when I saw all this internal power struggle and also what Anwar Ibrahim did, I felt like I needed to say something about it. I needed to say something about the meaning of freedom, the meaning of change, and the meaning of democracy. What does it mean? Should we move forward? Should we talk about it? Should we be honest with ourselves? Yeah, that's why I wrote that article.
And why do you think police acted quite quickly to call you up, and even lawyer Siti Kasim has also had some problems since election? People were expecting a change. Why do you think it's as if things haven't changed?
I think the culture is very much there. The culture of fear, the culture of intimidation, threat. We are so used to living in that kind of culture. So culture won't change just because we change the government. Some people still think that they have to use violence, they have to use intimidation to protect certain positions. So it's still there. Yep.
Are you disappointed so far? It's been quite early on, it's not even 100 days yet for the new government. But are you disappointed with the rate of change?
Yeah, I would say yes, because I was thinking that with this change, the space would expand, that we could finally talk about things that we were not allowed to talk about before. And then when I wrote that article and the way the state responded, I was really surprised actually. Yeah.
One of the theories put forward is that we should be a bit cautious with certain changes, particularly issues of religion and with the monarchy. How do you feel about that? Should they be handled with kid gloves, those two issues?
I don't believe that we should stratify issues or prioritize certain things, because I think issues affect people on a daily basis. For example, Indira Gandhi, for example, the minority groups, the LGBTQ people, the refugees, migrants. If we tend to stratify issues, that means we are saying that their lives don't matter, and that's how we perpetuate dehumanization. And I think it's important to really ask ourselves, what do we need to do to start humanizing people around us, particularly the marginalized, the oppressed? So I think this narrative has to go. We have to start talking about issues that matter, because people's lives are at stake. And we have a duty to protect and also to resist any structures that are stopping us from giving them what is rightfully theirs.
And did you feel from the feedback that you got, did you feel that your article resonated with many people?
I got messages, like a lot of messages actually, from friends, from strangers even, saying that, thank you for saying it. I've been thinking about this issue, this is how I feel, but I cannot say it because I don't have the courage to say it. So I don't feel like I said something that is new. I think a lot of people have thought about it, but it's just that it's really hard to say it because we are still shackled by fear. We still have all these draconian laws, and we still have right-wing groups that would attack people who speak up about all these issues. Yeah, and I am quite relieved to see that people are quite open when they shared my article on Twitter, on Facebook, and people said that, thank you for bringing this up. We need to talk about this, and it has to happen now, this conversation. Yeah.
You're a graduate of UIA and Oxford. You could easily have chosen a less confrontational, less difficult path. You could have been a corporate hack, you could have been a part of a government. Why did you choose a path of activism?
When I was reading law in law school, I don't know, like contracts law, torts law, I found it very boring and I didn't find like passion in it. And then when I was in my third year, I started studying jurisprudence. So there was like some philosophical debates and arguments that I was exposed to, and I got really excited, like, oh wow, you know, like we talk about justice, we talk about freedom, and I got a little bit exposed to all these ideas. And then when I was doing my chambering in my hometown, you know, I was attached to this center called the Legal Aid Center, and then a bunch of people from KL came to Alostar to conduct a training on refugee rights. And then I was like, wow, I didn't know about all these issues, because back in uni, we were not exposed at all about what's going on, you know, beyond our campus. And then I started knowing about there's this activism that's going on in KL. People are organizing themselves, holding rallies, writing letters, trying to like campaign for the ISA to be abolished at that time. And then I was like, oh, this is so interesting. So I told my mom, I'm going to finish my chambering and I'm going to move to KL to do activism. So that was my motivation at that time.
And what did she make of it, of that decision?
My mom, she's like, I can't really stop you. It's okay, I'm just going to pray for you. That's what she said. She's so used to me because nothing would stop me. Yeah.
So are we going to see you run for parliament one day?
I don't think so. I'm very skeptical of structures, power structures. And I believe that I have to start working with the people. I have to start doing something that would unite everyone, to tell the people that we cannot just wait for politicians to do it for us. We ourselves can be a political force that can influence politics, that can influence the future of this country. And people have to have that faith and believe that they can collectively be that force, so that they won't have to depend on politicians that sometimes, you know that politicians have their constraints, they compromise a lot, they talk a lot about pragmatism, and sometimes idealism gets lost in this whole discussion. And yeah, I want to be on this side so that, you know, I won't have to compromise some of the principles that I hold on to.